All aboard! Next stop, Chicago Junction.
Brian.
Yes, it's Chicago Junction, being the radio program that is all about everything that is railroad. Now here's our boss, the head of Windy City Hometown Radio Network, as well as being the chief electrical, Mr. John DeVita.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another broadcast of Chicago Junction from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on the northwest side on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network on Wednesday, February the 12th, the year 2014. Today, the panel will be talking about railroads and model railroads. And now, to start today's broadcast, here's our announcer, Brian.
And now here's our host, conductor Jack Ryan.
Hey, hello everyone. John DeVita, the day is still young. We may get some yet.
Yes, you're
Remember
right.
that.
You're right.
We still may get some. And today, and I hope, thank you very much for listening in. We're glad to have you. I hope you're as glad to be listening as we are to be talking here in front of these. There's no television cameras, so you can't see the wonderful costuming we have. And anywho, today we're recording this show for broadcast later, and it's the 12th of February, which is Abraham Lincoln's birthday. And other than being the oldest man in the world today, I wonder what he would think if he were around now to see some of the situations that we're getting into. Probably not surprised, though, judging that politics is politics and people are people. What do anybody say? Anybody disagree?
Well, he'd have a lot more homespun sayings, that's for sure.
Okay, today, let's see who we have amongst us. Kevin Berry.
Good afternoon.
Good to see you.
At
And
my
you-
age, it's good to be seen.
That's true, or obscene. And you're associated with the Lion? Is it Lionel?
The Chicagoland Lionel Railroad Club.
That's your club.
Yes, sir.
Anything coming?
Actually, we will have an open house this coming Saturday at our clubhouse out in New Lenox at 1311 Schoolhouse Road.
Do you have a website or something? People get information.
We do. It is all lowercase letters, CLRCtrains.com.
That's it.
That's it. Nice and simple.
Always don't be shy about getting the name of your clubs and the way we can get hold of you out there. So, and let's see, Dave Darushka.
Yes.
What's going on? Anything in your neck of the woods?
Well, I got all kinds of stuff. Have a bunch of photo exhibits coming up.
Locally or?
No, actually, there's one in Milwaukee, which is O. Winston Link, famous railroad photographer. That's going to be actually started already, and it's currently running through April the 27th. It's at the Groman Museum, which is part of the Milwaukee School of Engineering.
Okay, Milwaukee School of Engineering. And what's the photographer's name?
It's O. Winston Link.
Okay.
He's noted for his black and white photographs taken down south. A lot of the what had been the Southern Railroad at the time.
Norfolk and Western.
Norfolk and Western, okay.
And what years were this Mr. Link was working?
Oh, back in the 50s, primarily.
Right. Yeah, he worked actually the last 4 years of steam on the Norfolk and Western Railroad, getting the last of steam. In fact, he photographed the last steam freight that was pulled.
It would have been when?
March 15th, 1960.
Okay, so that would. I remember when I've said this before, but I remember when they brought a whole lot of the old steam engines, and they were like going to the slaughterhouse. They were crossing over the 47th Street around, probably Racine. There was an overpass there, and they were all going. It was like all my brothers and I watched it. What a terrible thing to be doing, but It's progress, isn't it?
Yeah,
Progress?
let me read what they say. Organized by Thomas H. Garver and produced in collaboration with the Center for Railroad Photography and Art in Madison, Wisconsin. This exhibition features 36 framed original prints signed by the photographer O. Winston Link, a Brooklyn, New York native. Link was a commercial photographer who became well recognized for his complex images of factory and industrial plant interiors. For Link, the steam railroad was a vital ingredient to the good life in America, an essential part of the fabric of our lives. It is this quality of life, not machinery, which he captures so artfully in his photographs. And their website is msoe.edu/museum, if anybody needs to find out more about this. I've been to Milwaukee to this museum, and it's a great place. Wonderful paintings, all dedicated to industry and to the people who work in different phases of industry.
Could you give that website one more time?
Yeah, it's msoe.edu/museum, MESUEM.
Okay.
And also in Chicago, coming up in Chicago, there is going to be an exhibit of photographs by Jack Delano. Delano was a photographer who worked with the Farm Services Administration, and his photographs are of railroad workers in the Chicago area. That exhibit starts April the 5th, 2014, and runs through August 10th, 2015. And that's at the Chicago History Museum in Lincoln Park. And coming up in May is the Center for Railroad Photography and Arts annual meeting where they have presentations. It's called Conversations About Photography. It's their annual conference. It's held May 16th through the 18th at Lake Forest College. And you can go to their website to find out more information about that. It's a great event.
Now, you say the Chicago History Museum, that is the official title of the Chicago, what we used to call the Chicago Historical Society.
Yes, correct.
So the Chicago Historical Society runs this history museum, so that's what it's the same place.
Actually, they transitioned their name about a year and a half ago.
Right. But I mean, still, some people may get confused. It's probably a better name for marketing, though. People realize there's a museum actually involved with the place. And
right.
Quite a museum, too, if nobody's ever been there. I mean, everyone should be, especially if you're from around here, living around here. You know.
And anybody who's seen Delano's most famous photograph was a picture of Union Station with the sunlight coming through the windows. It's actually I've got a picture of it here. He also did numerous photographs around Chicago rail yards, including engine houses at the Northwestern. So it's gonna be a great exhibit.
So what years was he active?
He was born in Russia in 1914. Of course, he worked with the Farm Services Administration, which was during the Depression. They paid artists and photographers to go out and document the United States as part of putting the Artist to Work program.
Right.
And his, I think the majority of his work took place with FSA. Let me see if I can find that information here. 1943. After which he traveled to Puerto Rico, lived in Puerto Rico for a long time, married, and documented a lot of life in Puerto Rico. So, very interesting guy. His son, Pablo Delano, was at last year's conference for the Center for Railroad Art and Photography, and they had an extensive presentation about Delano's work.
Mm-hmm. So, Jack is no longer with us, I presume.
No, he passed away in 1997 at the age of 83.
Good for him.
So that's the news from the photography world.
All right. Brian
Yes.
Below, anything going on?
Well, yeah, we have a few things going on. Yeah, I mean, in big news, the world's largest steam locomotive, the Union Pacific Big Boy, that was in Pomona, California, is now on main rails. Union Pacific has reparated it from its exhibit, and they pulled it out of the Pomona Fairgrounds, and on the 26th, they put it onto the mainline track. They cut it in and towed it out. They towed it to West Colton, where they're going over a thorough brake rigging and bearings, and they're going to move it to Cheyenne, Wyoming, making 8 stops along the way. They figure they're just going to make daylight moves. And the first stop after Wisconsin will be Las Vegas.
Oh, interesting.
But they're planning on rebuilding this locomotive. It's going to be about a 3-year effort, but it'll be ready by 2019, which will be the 150th anniversary of the driving of the Golden Spike. And they are traveling to drive it all over the system, around the Union Pacific system for a few years. So maybe it might end up here in Chicago.
Kevin, you were talking about that earlier too.
Yeah, I had pulled it up off the site, and unfortunately Brian beat me to it. The big boy was, the engine number for this one is 4014. It was one of 25 that were built, and when it goes back into service, it will be the only big boy out on the rail. And I'm really hoping that my wife and I will be able to get tickets to ride behind it.
You said it would be for excursions or something? Or?
What they'll do is they'll acquire passenger cars, and I'm hoping that they're going to acquire passenger cars and we'll get to ride behind it.
And now, are there other big boys anywhere? Anybody, Brian?
Yes, there are 8 that have been saved.
And these are in different museums?
Different museums.
Yeah.
The closest one to us would probably be, well, there are 2 that would be close to us. You can go to St. Louis, to the Transportation Museum there, or you can go to the National Transportation Museum in Green Bay, Wisconsin, where they have it beautifully cosmetically restored inside a building to protect it from the elements. And Scranton, Pennsylvania has one. There's one in Omaha. There's actually one in Cheyenne. There's also one in Texas. And let's see. That's 6.
What year does these locomotives date to?
They were built in 1941. There were 25 total built. So percentage-wise, it's the largest class of locomotive that has been saved. It is the first locomotive to weigh over 500 million pounds. It weighed 600 million pounds is when it was the weight when it came in. And actually pulled fast right, and it usually ran at 70 miles an hour.
So how many tons is that? That's
600.
Yeah,
600 tons.
That sounds an incredible number. Thinking it's something to be moving back and forth like that. You
know? Yeah, 600 tons. It had the largest wheelbase of any locomotive. It had 4 pilot wheels. It had 2 sets of driving wheels. It was an articulated engine of 8. So we're talking 16 drivers, and then 4-wheel trailing truck underneath the firebox, which was large enough to seat, if you put a dining table in there, you would have a table service for 12.
That's in the cab?
No, well, the cab is right right behind the firebox. This is where the fire was.
Right.
And it was a coal burner. And if you put a dining table in there, you could do a table service for 12 people.
Have you seen one?
Yes.
Kevin, you seen one?
Yeah, I saw the one that's out at Steamtown.
Steamtown is where?
Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
It's Steamtown National Park. It's part of the National Park Service.
Is it? Oh,
yes.
See, we're learning something every day here. Isn't it wonderful learn a little something? Oh, what is this? Oh, hang on. Well, we have a bulletin from the newsroom. All aboard the 33rd Annual All-American Railroad Show. It says it's Saturday, March 29th, 2014, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Lyons Township High School Fieldhouse. That's 100 Brainerd Avenue, corner of Brainerd and Cosset in LaGrange. And it says exhibits, operating layouts, door prize giveaways, grand prize giveaway, 4x6 HO scale layout. Family fun, no selling. No selling, just exhibits, huh?
Yeah, that's correct. It's just an exhibition.
Anyone familiar with this? Or
Not that show, no.
No? Dave?
No.
No?
Nope.
Kevin?
No, sir.
Oh, here, I'll give you one. Hey, I brought something original.
Thank you
I
so very
got that
kindly.
How unusual. Railroaders that don't know everything.
Yeah, I thought
That is true. We do have another one coming up, though,
What is
called
that?
the High Wheelers Show. It'll be the first weekend, the 1st and 2nd of March.
And
And
where?
it's going to be held at the Harper College. There will be both exhibits and sellers there. There will be different train layouts on display. In fact, a group that I belong to, Midwest Rails, we have a modular G-gauge layout that we're going to set up there. The LGB Club of Chicago is going to set up their floor layout. There's a two Lionel sets I know that are going to be there. They're HO sets. One done made with Märklin tracks for Swiss Railways. And then there's a lady there with this beautiful coffee table that has a Z-gauge layout inside that's operating.
Now, is it the whole weekend?
It'll be all weekend, yes.
Right.
There'll be plenty of tables there. Operation Lifesaver will be set up there.
Which is what?
Operation Lifesaver is the educational program that was developed through the Union Pacific Railroad, which started it, and it has accumulated over 42 years now. And they teach safety with between pedestrians and grade crossing and rails, talking about trespassers or people that like to drive around gates.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And that type of it. In fact, they've been so effective, the percentage, 72% drop in grade crossing accidents since it has started in 1974 here in Illinois.
And we've handled a few in our line where Kevin and myself are both retired from Chicago Police, and I've seen a few of those. Not good.
Well, you're talking to two engineers
Yeah.
here who know what close calls are.
Yeah. The ones you don't hear about.
And not so close calls.
No, they're right on target.
Yeah, right on target, right.
Tie goes to the runner.
Well,
Not with a train.
Yeah.
I mean, it's bad when when you're going through and somebody runs into your train.
Mm-hmm.
They just had a very bad one. Metra had one up on one of the Milwaukee lines where there was a father and a young daughter in a car. He drove around the gates and the train hit the car. They found him. They found the daughter later on in a snowbank. She was ejected from the car.
She made it? Or?
No, she was killed. Yeah.
Him too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to ride a Operation Lifesaver train when I was still with the police, and they mounted a camera on the front end of the engine, and it was a big freight engine, and you would be surprised how close the engine is, and people with cars still think they can beat it. Fortunately, that driver did learn the error of their ways, because they had Norfolk Southern Rail had coordinated with all the jurisdictions that they were running through, and there was a officer waiting there to admonish the driver for jumping the gates.
Oh, what was there?
There was an officer waiting there to write a driving commendation.
Oh, these gendarmes?
Yeah.
It's a $500 ticket if you're caught driving around the gates.
What people don't realize, Illinois law is written that as soon as those lights start up, you have to stop.
Right.
You're not allowed to try to sneak through before the gates come down. And once those gates light up, that grade crossing is the exclusive property of the railroad.
There was another accident that happened just right down the street from a Chicagoland Hobby on Northwest Highway and would it be about Sayer Avenue, someplace right by Harry Lumber? There was a crossing there, and that I heard that on the radio that they had a bad accident there. I think some people got killed in that one also, and that happened just about the same time the one where the father and the daughter got killed out there on the north suburb.
Well, now because of the litigious nature of our society, you'll find almost all locomotives equipped with forward-facing cameras, and sound recording as well to prove that the people that were hit by the train violated the crossing gates, and not the fact that the gates weren't working or whatever the lawyers seem to come up with every time this happens.
Yeah, it never worked, right? According to them, I mean.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. At the railroad, train was traveling too fast. The gates didn't come down quick enough.
Yeah.
I mean, there's 1,000,001 reasons why these people drove around the gates or were hit by the train. Mm-hmm. It's never that they were stupid.
Yeah, where I live, there's a lot of railroad crossings. I'm in Garfield Ridge is the neighborhood, so it's around Archer and Harlem and out that way a lot. There used to be a real problem, I know, and yes, something you have to learn to live with. I know one time there was a big problem because there was no fire station west of one tracks. Well, that was rectified 40-some years ago. There's one at 56th and Narragansett.
I think part of the problem down there is you're by Clearing Yard, and you've got a lot of trains coming in and out slowly, and they tie the crossings up for long periods of time. Although the state law is 10 minutes, you can only block a crossing for 10 minutes. But the railroads are accustomed to paying fines for that. It's part of their business, and they don't care.
I mean, the fine goes to no person in particular. It goes to the yardmaster, wherever he is in the. I don't know if it's $1,200. I don't know what the fine is, but as you said, it's part of the cost of doing business.
Yeah, they're not really concerned about it. I was coming home from the grocery store the other night, and the CSX had the crossings tied up between 119th and 107th. And that train wasn't moving. Actually, the Blue Island police had gone out and blocked off 119th Street so people didn't travel down that way. But the traffic was a mess. It was a horrendous mess. I have no idea what the reason was, but they had that they had it blocked off for a long time.
That particular set of tracks belongs to the B&OCT, the Baltimore and Ohio Chicago Terminal.
Right.
And from 127th Street all the way to 79th Street, those are considered yard tracks. And there's some unusual things that occur, including longer than usual trains sitting and blocking.
Right. I worked at the Wisconsin Central, and we used to have to go down those tracks quite a bit. And they'd hold you back before you hit the crossings, but you'd always have to trust the dispatcher. He'd say, give you the signal, and he'd say, okay, you're clear to go to the yard, and you'd end up at Blue Island Junction, and there'd be staring at a red signal. So what are you going to do? I mean, as a locomotive engineer, you try to be concerned about not blocking crossings. You don't want to do that, but you're at the dispatcher's mercy sometimes.
It's out of your control, right?
Yeah, it is.
Well, I personally, I can never remember that I was caught in, and I've lived there since, end of 1987, caught in a terribly, really one of these horror story train. But, I suppose maybe it's part of the problem is our world, we have to be so instantaneous with everything, instantaneous information, gratification, whatever. Can't wait for anything.
Well, everybody's in a hurry.
But yeah, despite money, yeah. What was that quote from the Magnificent Ambersons? The faster I go, the less time I have, or something like that. And that's kind of like.
I'm afraid that's before my time.
No, so was Abraham Lincoln. But
it's
Jesus,
still on
right?
DVD
or CD.
Yeah.
Yeah. And VHS and Beta. Don't forget Beta. But anyway. Anything else going on that we should know about?
We were talking about rebuilding locomotives. I guess the museum in North Freedom, Wisconsin is under a big rebuilding program for their old Northwestern locomotive that actually used to pull the circus train from Baraboo to Chicago. Elephant sound effects.
Down, Jumbo.
You know a little more about that? I've seen it on Facebook on the Northwestern group site.
Right, and they did a news story on it on trains.com. They actually got a couple of grants.
Yeah.
So it's a 10-wheeler. It's actually a suburban engine, commuter engine, and they're rebuilding it, and they should have it running, I figure, in 2 years, they say.
Yeah. It's a big project. They're farming it out to different companies. It's interesting. They don't really have a rebuilding facility themselves, so they've been sending out parts of it to different vendors to do the work. And it's interesting. I was telling Brian earlier that I picked up some DVDs that are basically promotional videos from railroads, and they show a lot of the back shop operations when they used to repair and build their own steam locomotives, and the type of machinery required to do that. It's incredible. I mean, it's truly incredible. And to have to undertake a project like that without those sort of facilities at hand, you have to send a lot of things out to a lot of different places to get the work done.
There must be less and less of those facilities all the time, then, am I right?
Well, one of the machine shops that's doing the work on the wheels said that they're learning a lot. It's a learning experience for them. And they've gone to different places, and they've reviewed different historical documents to try to see how this was done. So they're basically learning the old ways over again.
And what's nice is some of the museums have actually saved some of the old machinery. Wheel lathes being one of them for the locomotive drivers. And two places where people rebuilding locomotives can get their wheels done is either at the Tennessee Valley Railway Museum down in Chattanooga, or the Strasburg Museum, Strasburg Railroad in Strasburg, Pennsylvania. They are a 4.5-mile short line whose main purpose is to carry people, and they do it with steam locomotives. Since they rebuilt in the late 50s, when 20 rail fans basically bought the outstanding stock to keep it from being scrapped, and they totally rebuilt the line over the years, and steam brought the people in, and they actually are a contractor. UP has used them to retire their locomotives. They did all the wheels for the Challenger.
Yeah, you might want to explain what retiring is. It's
Okay.
It's not what I did a year ago from the railroad.
Retire. Okay, basically, when you get a flat tire, you take your tire, you take your wheel off, and you take your tire off the rim.
The rim, right?
Okay, that's the same thing you do in the locomotive. Believe it or not, you have two parts. You got a rim, and then you put your tire on.
A wheel,
which makes the wheel.
They call it a tire?
They call it a tire. It actually is. And though they changed their tire a little differently than the automakers.
You mean the motor club doesn't come out and do it for them?
No, not quite. Though they used to have an old auto club in those days, or the rail club, but they call it the wrecker crew. Yeah. To jack it up, they had to use a 250-ton crane to kind of pick it up a little bit. But what they do is they have the wheel set. They they put a ring around it, and it's called the Ring of Fire. Old science. They take the metal and heat up the tire so it'll expand, and then they take sledgehammers, knock it off, and then they put the new tire up, again put the Ring of Fire on, and then when it's hot enough and it starts slipping in, they'll start fitting it on, and they've got a guy there with a gauge to have it spaced right.
Now what holds it on? Just the
pressure? When the metal contracts,
yeah.
That's it.
For real. Must be something to see.
Yes, it is. It is really. It is. Oh, I got to see them do a retiring job at Strasburg. They were doing the last wheel on the Challenger, and it was the blue flame was amazing.
We're going to take a little short break here, and you're listening to Chicago Junction on the Windy City Hometown Network.
You are listening to Chicago Junction on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network from the John DeVito Broadcast Center. And now back to our panel and Chicago Junction.
Okay, now we're pulling back into the station, and here's our host, Jack Ryan.
Hi, gang. Glad you're back. Glad you're listening. Sitting here, Dave DeRushka, reminding everyone. Brian Velo, Kevin
Hello.
Mary, and myself. Was there something you wanted to bring up, Kevin, or did we already cover?
Well, I was going to just mention that with all the problems Metro's had, they just appointed a new director that most Chicago folks will know, Martin Oberman, a former alderman and a professor of ethics at UIC, is the new chairman of Metro.
Yeah, Metro could use some ethics. Being a former Metro employee, I can hardly argue they need somebody who's ethical there.
No, he's the guy, the director. I presume underlings are going to know more about operating, correct? Yes? No?
Yes.
Well, the new CEO has operations experience, but Oberman and he are kind of like work together.
That might be a unique situation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don Orsino is the new CEO.
Now, Metro is that a governmental creation, or how would you describe
the state of Illinois actually invented the RTA at the time it came about. Commuter rail in Chicago was pretty much close to being on its last legs. The railroads had allowed, especially like the Rock Island and Milwaukee Road, had allowed services to degenerate to the point that they needed help. And the best way to save commuter rail in Chicago was to create a public agency. And that was the formation of the Regional Transportation Authority, which eventually was split up into two components, which was the buses, which was PACE, and Metra, which is the commuter rail division.
So do these private companies like operate as a subsidiary, or?
There's two components to Metra. One is the railroads that Metra operates, which are the former Milwaukee Road, Illinois Central, Rock Island, and Norfolk and Southern, or would have been Norfolk and Western commuter lines. And then the Burlington lines in the Northwestern, which is currently the Union Pacific lines, are done under what's called a purchase of service agreement. Metra pays these railroads to operate the commuter service, and those railroads provide the crews to, obviously, in the track to operate those on, but Metra provides the equipment.
Okay, that's clear. Is there kind of a cooperation then between private industry and government there? Was that safe to? Is that safe
Yeah,
to
for a portion of the rail line, yes, it's cooperative agreements. But the majority of the commuter service is actually run by Metra.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah.
I know the Burlington line. There it cuts right across Berwyn there at what would that be about? North of Ogden, 30-something, 3100 about or so. That's part of the operation.
Right.
Yeah. Well, there was an old Burlington line though too, right? Burlington.
Yes.
Is that defunct now or gone or?
No. Tracks are still there.
Yeah, I know, but the tracks are. Where they belong to?
Well, they were merged into the Burlington Northern.
Okay.
Back in 71. They merged with the Northern Pacific, the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy, and the Great Northern.
Great Northern with that mountain goat they used to show us.
That is correct. The hill lines.
Yeah.
And they all merged to become Burlington Northern.
Okay.
And they also included the Spokane, Portland, and Seattle.
Spokane?
Yes.
Was in Washington? Yeah.
Yes, out of Spokane. Yeah.
Okay.
Spokane, Portland, and Seattle. And then they recently acquired a few other lines along the way, the Frisco being one. And they just, a few years ago, acquired the Santa Fe.
Santa Fe?
And they're now the BNSF, or Burlington Northern Santa Fe.
Right. I see some of the newer cars or something like that, BNSF on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And do they have yards somewhere around, I want to say around Kedzie and Off at Kesey and Archer, is that small yards of theirs, or
Yes, that's the Corwith yard.
Yeah.
is that
Yeah, that's the old Santa Fe yard.
Santa Fe? Okay, all the way, Santa Fe, all the way.
That's it.
Do they still do passenger?
They carry the passenger service. Amtrak runs on some of their trackage.
It's,
Coming out of Denver,
okay.
going at the Southwest Chief.
Okay.
The BNSF, the Burlington Northern Santa Fe, uses the Great Northern paint job on their engines,
Yeah.
so that they have kept some of their history visually alive. And then over the last 2 or 3 years, all of the roads have rolled out what they call their heritage paint jobs in a limited number of engines, and train buffs have been scampering for the posters, and Lionel collectors like me are going broke trying to buy at least one of each heritage fleet
Yeah, the
paint
Norfolk
job.
and Southern has the most impressive program for heritage units. They did one unit for every component railroad that they took over, and actually there was a great shot, aerial shot at the Spencer shops of all the locomotives lined up around the turntable.
Well, yeah, for the 30th anniversary.
Yeah, really incredible. Actually, at that last year's Conversations in Photography from the Center for Railroad Photography and Art, they had the corporate photographer from the NS there, and he was giving away posters of that shot. And I picked up one and I gave it to a friend.
Norfolk Southern got a hold of a video company, I don't remember which one, but they took the old Schoolhouse Rock Junction song
Yeah.
and redid it as Norfolk Southern, what's your function? and for 3 days they did this massive shoot with engines switching in and out and rolling stock, and it's tremendous.
Yeah, Brian says
you can get it
see
on
it on
YouTube.
YouTube, right?
Yeah, it'll blow your mind. It's almost like a staged dance.
Of course, if you know people that work for the NS, they'll tell you that their function is to fire people.
I worked for a different company that was very good at that.
But yeah, you're correct. Yes, it was orchestrated all, and it was for a commercial.
I'll tell you, it was impressive. I got to bite my tongue not to use words you're not supposed to use on radio, but I was impressed.
It's effing awesome, huh?
And after 31 years on the police department, for me to say I was impressed.
Yeah, you
'cause
mean it.
I like Red said, I've done my share of cleaning up when people didn't respect trains. So,
Telephone? Okay. I think we have a caller. Hello? Hello, Larry? Hello, Tom?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hello, Tom. How are you? So glad you called. You're Tom?
Well, I'm having a little trouble hearing you.
Okay. How about that? That's better?
Yeah,
How about
it's a little
that one? Okay. How about that?
It could be louder.
Maybe get the volume of the background music down there a little. Hold on. We're with you. How's that? Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. And you're from Berwyn Toys and Trains in Berwyn, Illinois?
Yes.
I was just by there. My son-in-law was there a couple of months ago. He's getting together build quite a display at their new house. He'll be back and finishing it up shortly. But we heard some good things about you before. Can you tell us about your business and what goes on there?
No, we have a lot of, most of what we have is O-gauge trains. We have a lot of trains like from 1950s Lionel all the way up into the modern products, which includes all the electronic sound systems are digitally controlled and smoke and everything like that.
Is there a busier time of year for you than this holidays, or?
Well, yeah, it's when it's cold, and it's been cold, so it's an indoor hobby.
And I know it was always
it's
associated with Christmas is our family.
Yeah, Christmas is obviously, yeah, it's the busiest time of all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, November, December, and it goes right into like the spring, you know, until things thaw out.
Mm-hmm. And then does that slow down with the warm weather a little?
Yeah, and people more outside. But right now it's cold and snow, and people are more or less trapped inside, and a lot of these guys are running their trains.
So is it a very hard to get into collecting like this, or is
No, there's so much available. There's more now probably than there ever has been as far as variety. Some different people go about it different ways. You can get started into it with a simple train set.
kind of a starter?
Come with the digital sound, and you can, there's horns, bells, smoke. There's all kinds of lighting effects on them. You're able to change the sounds on them. You can download into them, and that's just in the basic train sets now.
Wow.
And those start out. A lot of them are $200-300, and they go. Separate locomotives can go up, to $1,000.
And you can add trains to it, or add trains or cars, or.
Oh yeah, there's literally hundreds of cars available here separately. That's half the store is dedicated to old gauge trains.
I think you might know a couple people on our panel. Kevin Berry, are you familiar with the store?
Hello,
Yep.
hello, Tom. I've been in your store a bunch of times.
Hi there.
I'm going to put you on the spot, sir. What's your favorite train? What's your favorite rail company? Road name.
It's hard to tell the two of them apart between Lionel's high end and the MTH products. A lot of them are made very similar, and they compete head to head against each other, and once in a while one company outdoes the other. But as far as the variety of steam engine, locomotives, MTH has probably got the edge on that.
I'm not a purist. I've bought just about every brand you carry in your store. I have Lionel and MTH and Williams and Atlas.
Okay.
But do you have a favorite road name?
Road name, I'm kind of, I guess, partial to Burlington. A lot of the Zephyr, type trains. Besides that, just color-wise, like GM&O and the Rock Island colors that they had back in the 50s. Rock Island Rockets with the silver and maroon and the red, and black and red diesels. Same thing on the Burlington. It had nice black and gray with the Blackbird scheme. I don't know. That'd be my answer, I guess.
Well, you sold me a particularly nice Rock Island set.
The thing is, like with a lot of the Midwestern roads, like the Burlington and Rock Island, they don't seem to repeat it as frequently as they do New York Central, Pennsylvania, or Santa Fe, Union Pacific type stuff. So when it does come along, we try to buy more of it, but it doesn't come by as often as the others.
It seems like the Midwest roads are the stepchildren when they decide to bring something new out. Yeah,
a little hard time hearing you there, but if you're saying they don't bring them out as often, or there's just less of it made, and a lot of times a lot of the diesels or steams are specific to certain roads. All the Burlington steam locomotives or Rock Island steam locomotives, they're not common to any other road. So when it holds them back from producing any of that tooling, they feel like when they do like New York Central pieces or Pennsylvania, they're going to do a higher quantity. They'll go ahead and make tooling for it, but they don't make tooling for all the Chicago Northwesterns or as big as those roads were. They don't focus on those roads. There's a bigger market. The market's a stronger probably out east. Pennsylvania, New York. We're kind of secondary. They'll do it some, but they don't do it nearly as often. So we just kind of wait for them.
I understand exactly what you're saying. Believe me.
I heard Kevin here. He said he acquired the sickness one time. Is that a common term, or?
It's something that the Lionel collectors say amongst themselves. They've got the sickness because once you get one engine and one train, you have to have another one, and you have to have another one.
I'm still here. Hold on a second. I'm going to try a different. Are you still there?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Once you get.
I'm still here, guys.
Yeah, once you get one train, you got to have another train, and I don't know too many guys that run trains that only have one or two.
No, it doesn't stop there.
and the hobby shops are getting fewer and farther between.
We got a lot of stuff in here, and it's not that unusual. People come in and look at you. I got more than this. If after you do it for 20 years or something or more than that, you wind up with we've got a lot of customers who also say they don't know where to put any more boxes. They got literally filled up.
I can testify. Going in there is like a kid in a candy store. I mean, you just don't know where to start looking for.
Well, once you get one, and then you get another, then you should have another one that goes along with those two. Then it's hard to draw a line for some people. But
it sounds as if there's been a lot of advancement since the days back in the post-war years when we had a little capsule you put in them, make it look like it was smoking or that sort of thing. When you're talking about sound systems and DVD,
it's just like a television or a phone. They've improved it so much that, and in some ways they made it so complicated. But another way, it's a lot more interesting.
How did you get in the business? Were you a collector to begin with, or?
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
That what it is?
I'm still collecting. I got my own problem trying to leave the train here, right?
Are you your own best customer?
Yeah. Well, I got to stop. Yeah, I've got enough myself. I got them running inside. I got them running outside.
And you've been at this location or in business for how long?
I'm sorry?
You've been in business for how long?
We're here 21 years.
The same location?
We were first on Harlem Avenue up until 98. We've been here since 1998.
And that's at 7025 Ogden, folks.
Too much.
7025 Ogden in Berwyn, right?
Yes, correct. 7025 Ogden. We're 3 blocks east of Harlem Avenue. It's on the old Route 66.
And, thanks for calling. Maybe one of these days you or your partner's Larry, right?
Correct.
One of you can come and join the panel, and we'll do a taping of the show and be here in the studio.
We're open to that.
Okay. And let's see.
If we find a time, we'll be happy to do it.
You're open every day but Sunday, I see.
Every day but Sunday.
And how about during the holidays? Do you have any longer hours? Or
we're open weekdays, almost every day till 8 o'clock.
And you still stay closed Sunday?
Closed Sundays. Well, then Christmas season we're open on Sunday, but otherwise...
and what, 10 a.m. you open, right?
10 o'clock daily, yes.
Okay. And thanks a lot.
Oh, thank you for calling.
Well, thank you for calling.
All right, thank you.
So long.
All right. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
That's Tom from Berwyn Toys and Trains in Berwyn, Illinois, 7025 Ogden Avenue. 708-484-4384. Okay. Before I forget, a friend of ours and a part-time associate of the show, Bob Treziak, who's done a lot of antique music and railroad recordings for us, brings it down. He's not here today because about a month ago he had a fellow at his own house trying to get snow off the garage and wound up with a couple of fractures, his ankle and his hip, I think, a knee. I'm sorry, and he's recuperating right now. So Bob has brought us a couple interesting shows, and we hope he's back soon. Everyone think about him, and I guess we can still say, remembering your prayers too. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, gang, where are we off to now? Anybody?
Well, movies.
Well, movie. One of my favorite subjects.
Yeah, we've had a couple of movies that we've talked about, and there was a new movie coming out in the cinemas this Friday on a band of soldiers that was put together to get the
art treasures
over in Europe. Well, it reminded me back in 1964, there was this wonderful movie called The Train with Burt Lancaster, John Frankenheimer, and it dealt with that. It was about a German played by Paul Scofield, who makes a really great German. But what it was, they collected all the paintings and drawings he could and made a special train just for them and bullied his way through. Burt Lancaster's character, Le Biche, is a controller in the French railway system. And they were routing the train through him. And he was also in the resistance and did everything they could to try and save the train. And they actually did. By the end of the movie, they saved it, but at a great cost. But the Germans did not get the treasures.
Well, these were plunder, wasn't it? All this stolen.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was stuff taken out of museums,
Yeah, they were
people's homes.
they were emptying the art museums
Yeah.
in Paris.
Old masters and whatever. And
Yeah, and any homes that they've ransacked that had collections.
This stuff Hitler called degenerate art.
Yeah, because he figured a lot of it knew if it ended up in Germany, it was going to be burned before the fall. And this was after D-Day. Getting into it when France started becoming free, and it's when they actually got people in the art world. I mean, there were soldiers going through boot camp who were 60 years old.
Okay, yeah.
That they prepare them to take them overseas to be able to do it.
Because they could recognize and had expertise.
Yeah, their expertise. That was their sole purpose.
Yeah, this should be an interesting story to see. This is the one with, what's his name, Clooney?
George Clooney's actually the director.
And he was in it, too.
Right. Matt Damon's in it, John Goodman.
When does this come out now?
Friday.
This Friday. 2 days from now.
Mm-hmm. And if you go to Netflix, you might be able to find The Train.
I've seen that on...
it has some of the best choreographed railroad scenes ever.
Yeah. Turner Classic Movies runs that once in a while, I know, if you have cable.
Yeah, and I run it about once a month.
Well, you've got a copy, so... Doesn't Burt Lancaster do some run or something all the way up uncut? There's just one take on it or something. He goes up his...
he was up in a tower.
That's what,
and he slides down like he's aboard ship.
Yeah.
Slides right down the railing, and he's running.
Yeah.
And thank God they have long switches.
Yeah.
And he threw the handle and was able to get it before, because the engineer, he was just beating hell to get out of the yard while the planes were dropping bombs.
Mm-hmm. Lancaster was a circus performer.
That's right.
And it's very evident in the physicality of his acting.
Right. No, he even obviously like the trapeze, he was now the former flyer is now the catcher, and all that. He was
a trapeze artist.
I know, yeah. But I'm saying his physique shows that, his athletic ability, and something he never really lost, I don't think, over the years. He pretty much.
When he was making a movie called Tough Guys in 1986, I had the privilege to be on the set when they were filming, and I got to meet him and Kirk Douglas. We were at Taylor Yard, which was the main Southern Pacific Yard in Los Angeles. They had bought down a locomotive called the Daylight. It's a 484 Northern. It was used to pull the American Freedom Train in 1975-76. And it's owned by the city of Portland. And they used it in this movie, and they called it the Gold Coast Flyer.
Oh, the Freedom Train with the bicentennial.
Right.
Oh, okay, I remember. Yeah, it was down in
Davy Pier.
On Hubbard Street. Yeah, we came through there on when they call it there.
Yeah, they managed to derail it down there.
Yeah. What's that street called right there? North of Traffic Court Building used to be, but it's not a street anymore. It's just the
Hubbard?
No, not Hubbard. It's oh, that's all right.
Illinois?
Yeah.
No.
But they use they actually bought
Carroll Street.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But they bought the locomotive down, and actually and seeing these guys act and all. And he still looked like you could take me, and I was chief petty officer in the Navy at that time.
Yeah, he was. I imagine he didn't lose too many fights. Anyhow, on the other movies, let's say you just saw something on American Experience about Robert Leroy Parker and Harry Longbaugh, Butch Cassidy and the Son of Dad's Kid, and of course it's a little more than the screenplay was, but they said that one train, that was the last straw. The way he just destroyed it with the dynamite. Mm-hmm. The dynamite, I guess, was something. They got the Pinkertons after them. They got out of that special posse. There never was any kind of a chase. They found out about this and they said, "We're leaving town. We're leaving the country," and they went originally to Argentina and then to Bolivia.
Right.
But was that a big thing even in the 20th century, train robbing? Or
Train robbing. Well, actually, the last train robbery was right here in Illinois.
Yeah, Roundup.
Was it?
Yeah, at Roundout in 1956.
Wow.
Yeah, I believe it was 1956. There's
That's
a
recent.
historic marker there.
There was another movie made about the gang. They were brothers that robbed that train. There was a whole movie about them.
You remember what it was?
No, I can't remember the name.
Yeah.
The Baker Boys or something.
And speaking of train robberies, one of the largest train robberies was in 1962 in England, when they robbed the mail train, and at that time they got $7 million, or what the equivalent was at that time in pounds. And the last gang member 4 years ago finally came back from Argentina, where he has been since the robbery, and he had just passed away last month.
He was in 71, you said? Or what year?
1962.
Okay, 62 to now?
Yeah, he came, up until 4 years ago, from 62, he was in Argentina, and they couldn't extradite him.
And there was a great train robbery with Donald Sutherland. Another excellent.
Yeah, great. Donald Sutherland, Sean Connery, and that was done based on the book by Michael Crichton.
Well, the great train robbery, the original Edison, was kind of based on the Wild Bunch, Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid, and their.
That could have been, yes.
You know, it was notorious at the time, and supposedly now they deleted a scene like this, where they are down in South America, Bolivia or Argentina, one of the two, and they're actually watching the movie, and she walks out. She refused to see them get gunned down even on the screen. You know, so that beginning of the Butch Cassidy, they show that like old time scene, that was left of that. They didn't even use that in the film then. But
correct.
So I mean, we just use it as the opening.
Yeah, you're talking about the American Experience this month. I believe in a couple weeks, there's going to be a show on Pennsylvania Station in New York, the whole history of the Pennsylvania Station.
Yeah, they advertised that, right?
Yeah, which looks like it's going to be a very fascinating
Penn
show.
Station, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that got away.
Yeah, that's the one that actually started the preservation movement in America.
Okay. I know there was something in Reader's Digest about some little Catholic boys in New York learning their Our Father, whatever, and one kid said, "Lead us into Penn Station." Lead us not into Penn Station. Yeah, give us this day our jelly bread. Lead us not into Penn Station. But anyway,
we were talking about commercials. There's a commercial that's currently running on the Olympics from BMW that's elicited a lot of controversy, especially with Operation Lifesaver. In the commercial, the BMW is allowed by a group of motorcyclists to pass. Then it comes to a rail crossing, and the train slams on the brakes and stops for this BMW. And the head of Operation Lifesaver wrote a scathing letter to BMW saying, you need to pull this commercial because it gives the wrong impression that trains are just going to automatically come to a complete stop prior to let some BMW driver come across the crossing with their car.
don't try this at home,
The
folks.
commercial ends with the guy driving into water, and somebody said they were waiting for the seas to part for the BMW.
Well, we're just about to the end. The engineer's room says we got about a minute left now. So, on behalf of Dave DeRushka, Brian Ballou, Kevin Berry, and the fellows who couldn't make it today, and myself, thank you. Thank you for listening, and the next time. And remember, happy rails to you.
All aboard! Next stop, Chicago Junction.
Join us again next time when we take our railroad of imagination on our continuing journey through the wonderful world of trains. Chicago Junction is a production of the Windy City Hometown Radio Network. and can be heard over Jack FM 89.7 WRHS, as well as WindyCityHometown.com, where recordings of all our shows may be heard. Once again, all aboard! This is your announcer, Brian Valou. Thank you for listening. And oh yeah, the conductor was portrayed by Charlie Johnson, a struggling young actor in need of work. Good evening to all.
You have been listening to Chicago Junction on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on the Northwest Side. Chicago Junction was directed by John DeVita, produced by Jack Ryan, edited by Stephen Lehman, and our audio engineer is James Rohde. This broadcast was pre-recorded on Wednesday, February the 12th, the year 2014. Be safe, and until next time, thanks for listening.